Okay, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining today's session. Myself, Tim Miller, and David Girard will be presenting today on combating ransomware with XDR, moving beyond legacy EDR and stopping being an easy target for ransomware attacks. Those of you who have been on these in the past may know me. My name is Tim Miller. I'm a product operations manager, specifically in the XDR Trend Microvision 1 side of the house. I had the honor of co-hosting and introducing David today. He's a senior product manager with the XDR team and the Vision 1 team. David has a lot of great background and he can talk to at so many different levels. He's been a former senior security researcher within Trend Labs here. He's done research projects that involve automation, cyber threat intelligence, threat hunting, and incident response. He's collaborated on many investigations involving multiple law enforcement and intelligence agencies. During his career, he had multiple roles from consultant, auditor, incident responder, forensics investigator, trainer, Python enthusiast, and CISO for a very large organization. He's also managed and built a SOC from the ground up for the very large organization as well. So without any further ado, I'll go ahead and stop sharing my screen and hand it over to David, and he will share his presentation with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Welcome to my presentation today. So stop being an easy target. So why stop being an easy target with ransomware? Well, in our day-to-day job, we encounter ransomware incidents, and in most cases, we see that it could have been prevented, or the damages could have been way smaller. So our solution, and this is what I will present today, so you need to be more proactive. But how to be proactive against ransomware attack? So, well, I borrow a U.S. Marine philosophy of left of bang. So, in left of bang mean observing pre-event indicators. So the bang is the bomb detonation or the shooting, and you must act to prevent the bang. So the bang in cybersecurity field is when you get a data breach or the sabotage or the ransomware. So in this case, in this analogy, incident response would be after the bang. But now you need to be before. So there will be a lot of there's many technique or tactics that you can use to be proactive, but today we will concentrate on MITRE attack. So first thing, you need to know your enemy, TTPs, the tactic, technique, and procedures. So, well, there's many ransomware families. Well, just for the double extortion, we monitored 35 families. But here I picked 8 most prevalent ransomware families like Reaval, DarkSide. DarkSide, you probably heard a lot because of the US pipeline. Lockbit, Ryuk, of course, Egregor, Klopp, Conti. Now we will compare 3 of those later on. If you want to see some of the link, you can always scan those QR code on the right. So the common ransomware technique in attacks, there's a cool resources from MITRE, and we will get into this website where they listed a bunch of MITRE technique. So let's get into it. So MITRE, first of all, for those that don't know what's a MITRE attack, it's, well, a knowledge base of adversary cyber tactics, technique, and sub-technique. I often use TTPs because they were referred has TTPs. And TTP, as you know, well, it comes from the military. It's used in the US and in NATO countries. So tactic, technique, and procedure, but in this case, the procedure are the sub-technique. And now it became the common language between the blue team, the red team, and the vendors. And remember, before that, we had everybody was having their own kill chain and naming different attack names. So now a credential dump is a credential dump. It's a T1003 credential dump. And for everybody, for the incident responder, the red teamer, and so on. So that's it brings a lot of order in the chaos of cybersecurity field. So I highly encourage you to get into this. So the common, if you click and you go on there, you will see the T1566 phishing. And if you want to have more information about it, you can click on it and it will describe everything. It will even give some of the procedure and mitigation and so on. So for those that don't know, MITRE ATT&CK, go there. It's an amazing database of information about cybersecurity. Then 1486 data encrypted for impact. Well, this is the result of a ransomware. Your data gets encrypted, but with the double extortion, well, it gets exfiltrated as well. File discovery and directory discovery, because they do reconnaissance in your network to find those valuable assets. So that's something you will see all the time. Inhibit the system recovery. This is when they disable the shadow copies or the login. They force you to log in and save boot, or they remove the save boot. Impair defense. That's disabling, for example, Microsoft Defender. So or disabling, killing Symantec console, for example. And of course, data destruction and stop services in your network. So if we come back to the slides, this is what you got here in their list. But some of these will be before the bang. So these are the technique you need to look for. So some of these techniques are on the endpoint, and some of these techniques will be found by a network sensor. And this is the big difference between an EDR and XDR solution, because in most XDR solution, you will have email, endpoint, server, network, that will bring you information about these. And it's always good to have two sources. In cyber intelligence, we always told our students when I was teaching it, you need to have two sources. So it's good to have your endpoint and your network DR. Of course, when you get to exfiltration, data destruction, it's too late. Okay, well, you might be able to isolate those computers, okay, very quickly, but you will still have some distractions. So it's good to be able to detect before the bang. Of course, there are other techniques often seen left of bang, so LFB. So here, some of that I see are the drive-by download. Okay, I see a lot of scheduled tasks or cron jobs on Linux. WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation, is used a lot to start the process locally or remotely, so for the lateral movement as well. And T59, this one, it's more about command and scripting interpreter. So you will see a lot of PowerShell there, the batch file, and the Visual Basic for application. These are the three popular in this big technique. So here's T59 is the technique. And 001 is the sub technique. So 003 is the sub technique command shell. 005 is the sub technique for Visual Basic for application. Native API, so these you will get some .NET and native Windows APIs to bypass monitoring from EDRs, for example. So this one, you see it often. And of course, a lot of credential dumping by Windows tools like reg.exe or other good tools that you will get from, so like the memory dumping tools that will be used to extract the credentials. And these are legitimate tools. Well, of course, you got malware that does this, like Lasagne or Mimikatz. T1069 permission group discovery, this will be used in the discovery mainly. So here you got all the tactics of the MITRE attack framework. Initial access, so this will be the drive-by download, but also what we have seen before with the phishing, execution, privilege escalation with the credential dump, the persistence, that will be the schedule and task and cron jobs. Discovery here will be with WMI and the permission group. So these are mainly Active Directory queries. But also they will go through from network shares and so on, and look into, and in the directory discovery, sorry, you will see a lot of well, port scanning and so on. Defense evasion, of course, you will get those, and the lateral movement, because most of the ransomware that attack in a large organization. So for those, you will see some PS exec, RDP, because they already got the credential for the domain admins. Sometimes you will see some vulnerabilities that are used, and of course, you have to look for some Cobalt Strike. A lot of those ransomware families use Cobalt Strike. So there's a lot of opportunities here to be able to detect and hunt on those techniques. We will do a little comparison of Reaval, Klopp, and Conti cases. So in this case, I got a Tremacro article that you can read. It gives you a lot of details on how they do it and their previous version versus those new version they have. So here you got some of the technique they use, of course, phishing, exploitation. So these are CVEs, valid accounts. So yeah, that's a problem with password reusage between your personal accounts and some corporate accounts we see often. And I just had a case this morning of a Canadian bank, and apparently password reusage was the case. Drive-by compromise, of course. So they set up those websites, and employees go to it, and then they get infected. T1059, we talk about that one, and so on. So as you can see, a lot of those are the technique. And of course, the bang is right here when we got exfiltration and impact.
So David, I have a quick question for you. When we're looking at this, and so this is a Reaval example, and we've got our left of the bang and our right of the bang there at the collection and exfiltration point. How can you identify these events happening in an organization? How would you go about pointing them out so you could understand that maybe somebody's got a campaign going?
Well, you have to search or hunt for these technique in your environment. Well, there's two ways. You can do the hard way by looking for these malware that does, for example, the credential dumping, and then you look for those legitimate tools that does credential dumping as well. So you have to build a lot of queries in your EDR. And if you got lateral movement, you also have to build queries for your EDR, but then look for network communications in your network sensor if you have. So it's a lot of work. Uh, the easy way is that a modern XDR or modern SIM or modern technologies would encode all these MITRE technique and sub technique in their log. So you will be able to search them by just searching the technique. Let me give you an example then. In our console here, I would go to search, and instead of looking for PowerShell or other things, I would just check for those techniques since everything get encoded as MITRE. So that's how I already created a few queries here. And this one was for the common ransomware technique before the bank from MITRE. So if you remember in the slide, we had those techniques. So here I could just query those. I didn't pick, oh, we already got some hit. And this is not a real environment. This is my my lab. So no issue here. And then you will look for those. And if I want to add more, it's easy. So you just type the technique and that's it. Instead of doing way more difficult queries, I can check. In this case, I got 78 events, and these are on these 3 machines. So I would probably have to dig into those machines. If I get in here and I want to see the tags that are involved, I can head and take a look. I want to see the machine name also. Can point add a column and look into those. And I got a nice view here. Then I can exclude, include, get deeper. So it's kind of, if you know Kibana or Splunk, well, the search app in Vision One, it is like that. So let's go back to the slides. Well, in fact, let's get into the article itself. So, so this is where you have these, and if you go to CLOP will have different technique and procedure. Actually, it's a better way to detect those ransomware because, of course, all the hashes and the URLs and the IPs they use. So the indicator of compromise, they change all the time and they have a very short life. So they could live for 4 hours and then they are gone, or they can be used for only one target, only one company. And then for the other company in the campaign, they would be a completely different. So, but the technique, the indicator of attack, or the TTPs, the MITRE TTPs, these are constant. Okay, they change rarely. They will change, of course, every few months for a family. Okay, or when they get tracked or they get detected. Well, they will change those, but these are changing very slowly. So it's, you got better success if you hunt on those techniques.
What you're showing here is each one of these, they share similarities, but they've got their distinct footprint, right? So each one's got their own way of doing things. So do you use MITRE to identify the possible threat you're going up against so you can prepare a little better?
Yes, sometimes we identify based on a couple of indicators, yes. But on the IOA, on the TTPs, we can actually relate a new sample to a family. Or we see a big change in a family. And in this article, there's I think they mention the difference between CLOP in 2019 and CLOP in 2020, where they change a few way to execute. So a few TTPs got changed. So of course there's evolution, but these are slow to change. Actually, Conti, we got Conti here. We have seen a lot of those. Of course, yeah, public facing application, phishing. Phishing is almost always part, it's always the start of most APTs and the enterprise ransomware today. So that's why having cloud app security or Office 365s and Gmail suite solution in Vision 1 in our XDR, it's helping a lot in to be able to catch them at the initial access and then execution, while most EDRs start at the execution. So yeah, and if they are not very well integrated with email, then they fail to have this part of the story. And then here you will get a lot from yeah, the EDR as well, but the network sensor will be able to cover these, and also discovery. Discovery, lateral movement, command and control, exfiltration. Your network sensor should be able to catch those as well.
So if you have an XDR in place and you're watching email, you're watching endpoint, you're watching network, you can see what's happening across all those different levels. If all you had was EDR today, what could you see approximately given these different tactics and techniques?
Well, you could see most of these here, but you won't have a complete story. And we have seen it in actually there are unmanaged devices, and those you don't have the endpoint, the EDR or the anti-malware installed on it. And when you have one of those unmanaged devices that get infected at first, then you lose this. So you need to have the network DR to be able to pick it up. So that's one of the problems with DDR, but they complete each other. So you need to have multiple sensor, and sensor diversity gives you more visibility, but also it's more resilient because just like the old anti-malware, the first thing that the malware try to do is to disable the EDR. So actually, that's something we also pick up when they try to disable Windows Defender, for example. So that's a big indicator when they try to disable the EDR. So that's one of the things you try to record as well. So even if it's not Microsoft Defender, some malware try to disable Microsoft Defender, even if it's not the one in use. So it's a big clue, actually. Yeah, and you got Conti here. Let's move on. And well, what are the other advice to be proactive? Well, policy hardening, configuration hardening, Windows, AD, Linux, the network share, and VMware ESX server. Well, policy hardening, I was alongside the Trend Macro USR IR team in the large city. And it was a ransomware case, and actually, it came through personal email. So the policy hardening that they did after the fact was, all right, we will ban employees from using the corporate computers to get their personal email. Now they have to use their phone through the corporate Wi-Fi, because that minimize the risk of because there's not a lot of malware that goes from an iPhone or Android to Windows box or Linux box. So that was policy hardening. Uh, they they have done some policy hardening as well in the GPOs configure, but it's more configuration hardening there. A lot of share as well for the ESX, and they were not patch. That's one of the things that, and actually, this is one of the things in our zero trust part of our XDR. We tell you which computer are vulnerable with vulnerabilities that are used in the wild. Okay, that are, because there's a lot of vulnerabilities, but there's only a small percentage that are used by ransomware campaign. And we point you which endpoints, which host in your network that have the vulnerabilities that the bad guys are looking for. So it helps you do some priority about patching. I mentioned password reusage. Well, use MFA as much as possible, multiple factor authentication. Because, well, we see a lot of breach even in 2021, even in a bank in 2021, where some admin or some employees were using the same password on their Facebook and on their corporate account. Train your employees. Well, security awareness and do a lot of phishing campaign. We used to do one per year, and some people say two per year, but some say that the best practice would be to do small campaign once a month, and don't tell your employees that you're doing the campaign. Use vendor latest solution like XDR, that are multi-layer XDR from and zero trust, especially with the work from home. And we will still work from home for some period of time, I guess. So yeah, use those solutions and their best practice. So there's a problem with the best practice. Sometimes we see that a lot of important components are disabled, like behavior monitoring, like web reputation or machine learning, the predictive machine learning. These three components are the one that protects you the most, not the real-time scanning AV. It's the web reputation, the behavior monitoring, and because remember, these are about behavior. And under behavior monitoring, we got anti-ransomware. So if you disable behavior monitoring, well, you just disabled the anti-ransomware, which is not good if you want to protect yourself against ransomware. Use SaaS over on-prem. Well, we have seen a few, because when they got domain control or domain admin credential, they will encrypt a lot of servers. And well, we have seen on-prem servers that got encrypted. These were the console for your EDR or your antivirus. And once you got your console encrypted, then it's difficult to recover. It will slow down your recovery time a lot. So SaaS, software as a service, is a way more resilient during a ransomware attack. I haven't seen a single SaaS console being down during a ransomware attack. But on-prem, I've seen some. Try to monitor 24/7. While I know I had 12 people in the SOC that I built, and it was not even full 24/7. So today you have to take advantage of MDR, or MSSPs that do this. We have a trend macro managed detection and response that is built above our trend macro vision 1 XDR. So, but there are many MDR and MSSPs out there. Have your IR plan and procedure ready. So that's another way to be proactive. We have seen a lot of people that don't have an IR plan, incident response plan and procedure. So, well, when you got 300 servers that just got encrypted in a $4 million ransom demand, well, and you got a lot of customers and the executive that go crazy and the media, well, it's not the time to start creating an IR plan. Well, try to use your pen test results. And today, I would encourage to use breach and attack simulation software like Safe Breach, Attack IQ, Simulate to constantly improve your posture. And well, how it works in Vision 1? Well, in Vision 1, we have early indicators, detection models for ransomware. These are analytics that are based on those TTPs. And it's like having a automated threat hunting. Plus, we have constant intelligence or IOC sweeping that occurs based on those on our own intelligence or third-party intelligence, government intelligence, and so on. And you can also create your own early warning just by creating those search queries and have them run every 15 minutes in the background, sweeping your data lakes. All right. Oh, yeah. So let's see it if you want to see. So you got your detection models here. If I type early for early indicator, so you can see I have Nephilim, Logbit, Reaval, Darkside, and Egregor. So most of the big ransomware campaign, you have early indicators. So when you get an alert saying ransomware, you better pick it up fast and act. Same thing, we do have generic ransomware model. So these would be, well, when you see a detection node, when you see some of the command control, we know about them, when they try to disable or delete the volume, shadow copy. So that's a generic model to be able to detect those guys. So we have a lot of these. And for most of the technique we have seen, like phishing, we build like here, phishing. We build a lot of different type of phishing models, detection models that you can get to find these guys. Same thing for the scheduled task and so on. So you will be able to detect. So we have a lot of built-in detection models or analytics that runs live. These are when we get telemetry from your endpoints, networks, or emails, we do analyze those against those models right away. So you will get an alert within a few minutes. For the intelligence reports, and you got automated sweeping. So here, you got a lot of those. So let's say Reaval and apply. And I got three intelligence reports for this one. And you got Egregor, you have different one, and you see you have no hits. So that's good news, no hits. And you see at what time your next sweep will be. So I got 45 sweep on this Ryuk one, 52 sweep on Egregor, and nothing happened. And if you got a hit, you get an alert. So then you can hack on it. And you can have your custom intelligence based on sticks and taxi right here. So and of course you have Reaval. Maybe you have one here. Yeah, Conti maybe. Conti, and it tells you the sweep and the matches, and you can even run manual start sweeping or sweep other data source through stick shifter. And this is it.
So David, I have a question for you. We hear a lot about time to detect, time to protect, dwell time, those sorts of things. How would an XDR help in situations like that to help reduce those?
Well, it helped because you do all those constant and sweep all behind the scene in almost real time. So you, even if you can't have the real-time detection on the endpoint, for example, because you don't have the information, or it was a brand new encryption that they were able to evade the old antivirus scanning, then as soon as they will start doing things on the machine, then those behaviors will be recorded. When they do stuff on your network, those behavior get recorded as well, and then they will match the different models that we have. Some are based on analytics, the others on machine learning, and some others, well, like the anomaly detections that we do. So then when you got a detection, instead of having the detection 110 days later, or when a third party tells you, hey, you got hit, so some government agencies calls you, well, you will be able to detect it not very long after it started to run. So it's more resilient to attacks than older technologies are. So you should have a very short mean time to detection, but then the mean time to respond will be faster because you did detect it, but all from the interface, you are able to isolate the machine quickly. You just right click on the computer name and you are able to isolate it. You just click on or collect the file, block the file, block the URL, block the IP of the command and control, block the domain, even delete or quarantine email messages, because you have access to all those endpoints and network device and email solution. And we had more and more solution incorporated in our XDR, but also we push those indicator, those block file, block URL and domain to your third-party vendors as well. We have integrations with most firewalls. We have integration with third-party intelligence tools as well, so that you can push to MIPS or MIPS can push to you. So yeah, it will help you do some quick response.
So we got a question from Mark, who's asking, is there a list of recommended taxi feeds that we can add to XDR?
Well, it always depend on your industry and where you are, in which country, I would say. So based on the industry, there's some taxi feeds that are better than others. But some we already covered. So like the CISA from the US Homeland Security, you don't need to have this taxi feed because we already have it built in, for example.
Very good.
I got a few ones. It depends if you are in pharmacy, if you are in local governments, or we may be able to answer after.
Got another
Yeah.
question. Mark followed up with he's in U.S. manufacturing. That's another good point, Mark. In manufacturing too, when you're looking at coverage for detections and sensors, if you're using a traditional EDR that requires a sensor or agent to be deployed, if you've got manufacturing components that are IoT that are connected to your network, there's nothing that can really watch over those. You can't install an agent to it. So having a sensor at the network level or something to that point will also help with that remediation. But do you have any recommendations for manufacturing, US manufacturing, David?
Oh no, I've been more working with healthcare and the financial industry like FISAC. FISAC, FSISAC is one. So you have to find the HISAC if you are in the US, but I know they take Canadian customers as well, and some European. Europeans also have some threat feeds. So yeah, and we integrate with Taxi, but we also integrate with MIPS. If you go here, I think it's
You were just there, yeah. Missed
yeah.
down.
So if you have feeds and communities in retails, that have MIPS feeds, then you can use those to push into Vision One as well, and Vision One to MIPS the other way as well. So
Cool. So we had a different question from Robert. How automatic are the remediations being discussed? Excuse me. Yeah, how automatic are, and then seems like a lot of manual things to be done.
well, as you have seen with the model and the threat hunting, this is all automated. Not much automate, not much manual stuff to do. We try to, when you had or click on the block something, it will be push automatically to all our sensors, but also to third-party sensors. So when you configure Vision One, we make it in a way that you can actually, and some of the then it will be automatically blocked as soon as they receive. So Fortinet receive it, or Trimicro Apex One agent receive the URL, the SHA one. Then let's take the URL. Then they will block that URL automatically. So there's a lot of things that are automated in Vision One. We are building more automation. We have APIs, and we speak with other vendors like SOAR vendors that are integrating Vision One right now. We are going to uh, publish our automated response in a few weeks. So that will be a step toward automation, or more automation, actually. So for example, we can collect a file automatically, send it to a sandbox automatically, and then once we find it malicious, it will be published in our suspicious subjects and then pushed to trend micro sensors, third-party sensors. That's all automatic. And when we receive third-party intelligence, it's all automated. So we will do the sweep behind the scene. So yeah, once configured, we try to do as much as we can in an automated way, because we know that you don't have time in the SOC or in the IT security team.
Maybe you can show an example of a workbench. So what you were shown before was manual search capabilities, and we didn't really get into the automatic sweeping that you can do once you create a search. So we can talk about that, but maybe you can show a workbench where we've got an automatic detection and letting you know that it's there. Walk through that.
Oh, here I got some hits on some detection models, but this is in the lab. So, okay, so I'm running one of those BAS tools that generates attack. And I haven't seen this one. And you got my computer here. And you see the different things and the user that was used during this attack. And I can right click on it do some isolation, start remote shell, run the custom script that you create. So these are PowerShell script or shell script. So you can do more investigation, capture memory, and do stuff like that. You can just, in this case, just suspicious deletion of volume shadow copy. So that's one of the technique that is used. And you see the command line here, VSS admin. Yeah, that's the right one. And in here, some of the batch file that was used. So that's the parent process and then the process. So we got process, the parent, the process, and the object on this machine. I can do the execution profile on it, can get the detail from this computer. I can get into the search and see all the endpoint activity before and after, if you want to have more information. So execution profile. Oh, I didn't execute anything in this case. It got blocked. So yeah, so that's it for Workbench. Of course, you got incident views. Let's take. So incident is a correlation of all those alerts you have here. So you got some alert that are based on ransomware. You can dig into each one and you get more information about it. So you got your file here. So you can add the block list. You got this machine. You can isolate the machine. You can collect the file, submit to sandbox, and so on. If it would be an email, then you could delete the email, quarantine the email, block the email sender right from here. You don't have to open a ticket and ask the email admin to do it. You can do all the response. It's a one-click response.
In other forms of automation, we do have the managed XDR. So if a customer does decide to go with the managed XDR, they can take action on your behalf automatically. But there is also automation tools that are being built and will be coming very shortly so that you can do automated response techniques. But you could also maybe show them, and you were showing the responses there. One of them was for remote scripting. Maybe you could talk about that really quickly. So a way to do it like an automatic remediation via script. They have to do a manual kickoff at this time, but you could show them that quick.
Yes, you come here, you build your, you build some script. We have some examples of those. You can list the prefetch here, get the drives info, with a lot of, get the scan for process and get a memory dump of a process based on some Yara rules in this case that I created. And you will run it, so test. And it will run in the background and you will get the result. This is a long script to run with a lot of time. Then you can start a remote shell on computer and start doing some investigation like I have LS, or I don't even know if my machine is running right now. So yeah, it's probably not running. Oh, sorry, it's a lab. Any other questions?
Are the block lists integrated with Office 365 policy or are they independent from them? Meaning a trend block list. Like if you add something to a block list in Vision 1, does it get shared with Cloud App Security?
Yeah, it does. If you go to your block list here, as you can see, it is shared with Apex One in this case, Cloud App Security. So yeah, it will end up in Cloud App Security behind the scene. The service gateway is the machine to rerun inside the network of the customer. And this one will push that information to MIPS or to Fortinet, to many other, if you go here, you would see third-party integrations. Palo Alto and FortiGate here, Checkpoint, or some of the, but you can, with the plain text, free text feed here, you can push to Cisco ASA or Cisco AMP, but because, or all other products that can feed from plain text feeds. So there's a lot of possibilities that you can do. Other questions?
The most recent one is, can this be run on servers? I would say yes, we can run this on servers. From the sensors point of view, I'm not sure what more directly you were looking for. And then on the automated response, that is something that we will have here in the very near future.
Well, we always add some sort of automated response in our products, but we will add a something that is called automated response very soon. That will go further. So we had outbreak prevention. That was some automated response. We had active action on the endpoint and so on. So you were able to also capture packet from DDI based on certain rules that you create. So it could be a detection, could be, so you were able to do automatic stuff. But now we will rebrand it as automated response.
And then the last question I have here before we get ready to sign off, because we're coming up on time. If one has on-prem Apex One, what additional licensing do you need to use XDR?
Well, I would need someone that is more in the licensing portion, more on the technical side.
Yeah, so I think you've got two options here as it stands today. One is to purchase credits from Trend, which would allow you to use the standalone XDR endpoint sensor, or XES, that you could deploy to your Apex One on-premise endpoints. And the other would be to get an XDR add-on. I believe the XDR add-on will be coming off the price sheets fairly soon, so the credits would be the way to go. And the way that's licensed is 20 credits per sensor. So if you had 100 endpoints, you would need 2,000 credits.
Yeah, well, so the new credit systems is for endpoint. Well, endpoint, it mean also the servers. So Cloud One, so not just Apex One, email, network. We got mobile, and also if you want Cloud Sandbox analysis, you have credits for this as well.
Yeah, and there's also a trial program that's built in. So if you're running the latest Apex One on-prem, there should be a banner there if you're not using EDR today that would allow you to sign up, and you get 28,000 free credits to use however you'd like to take things for a test drive. And then there was a follow-up on migrating from EDR to client, EDR client to XDR, and to get additional zero trust features and remote shell options. Yeah, so you would need to deploy the standalone sensor to get those features. The on-prem EDR solution would not have them, and the Apex One SaaS as well would need to be migrated. I think some of these questions would probably be better off in a call with your rep, because then we can go deeper on that. We're coming out of time here, so we don't really have much more time to discuss that intricacies of licensing and what your individual needs are. So I think that would be a better way to do that. Same with pricing. Pricing would have to be done through your sales rep.
And we almost forgot to mention that the zero trust risk insight that we have as a dashboard in Vision One. It will show you the most vulnerable machine and the one with risky behaviors based on those 6 matrix here, the account compromise, which you have in most of these, vulnerability detection that you have now in some families, ransomware families, some activities for the cloud, the XDR detections that we showed you, some threat detections, and also anomaly detections that we don't have here in the lab, but then yeah, you can see those vulnerabilities that could be exploited in your environment because we detect that they are not patched.
All right.
And this is it.
Thank you, David. If you just give me a chance to share my last slide here so that people have our contact information. If anybody needs to reach out or has any more questions, you can feel free to reach out to the three of us directly, David, myself, and Eric. Happy to help answer any questions. And again, I definitely would recommend that we have more deeper conversation, more personalized conversation with a sales rep, an engineer, to make sure we get your questions answered that maybe weren't answered today. The recording, it will be made live. It is on that link that Eric shared earlier in the chat, trendmicro.com. And if you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you, everybody, for attending.